So one of the things we were talking about when we were introducing you was the fact that you were a rapper, and I think that's a little bit surprising.
That was perfect.
It's a little bit surprising how good your music is for me. So I thought you'd be terrible. No. I say that in like maybe it'd be funny, but I'm serious.
Yes.
You come out with very, very good stuff. That sounds
it's professional.
Yes, very professional. So we're gonna play some of that in the background, and I want to hear how you got into it. First off, why you got into it, how you got into it, what made you want to get it, all that stuff.
Hear it, and then why and how.
Yeah, I want you to play it. So we'll listen to some. What's this one called?
This is a verse out of People Mad.
Turn it up a little bit. A little bit more.
Let's go. Put some balloons on my house like it's up. Baby, what's up? You know I give all the what's. Got water that's living inside of my cup. Can't wait for permission to be you. This way they never gon' free you. I'ma just follow a Nazarene carpenter, try to do all the things he do. Looking at me like, what happened to you? From us to fit in the shoe. Tonight at my show, you'll hear fans from the front to the back screaming bippity boppity boom. I might just slide in the coupe, LaMelo tossing the oops.
All right, so I mean that's sick.
So let's jump in.
I want to see first off. When did you know that you wanted to do this? What made you?
He was writing rhymes in high school, maybe earlier than that.
Remember this?
But I do.
At that age,
in
really
high school, if you ever found Brandon, he had a piece of paper. He was either practicing his signature or he was writing rhymes.
I cannot believe you remember that.
Before we go any farther,
spot on?
Hey, Spotify.
Oh, Spotify. 4 or 5 music videos on YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Apple Music, everywhere music is, it is.
And we're gonna
Bshortt.
We're gonna make a post on Instagram and YouTube, collabing with you.
Yes.
Trying to get, dude. I want to get you freaking. You're already going.
We're going.
I want to get you freaking big time.
We're moving.
Yes.
We're moving. So this is.
So yeah, what made you want to
start
do
at the
it?
start? Yeah.
So one, the fact that Jacob remembers that is nuts.
Yeah.
Because Jacob's memory's so bad.
Have you seen his autograph?
My autograph's
Like
also
gas.
dank. So I remember
That's the first time I've heard the word dank.
in a long time. It was because I was referencing that era.
Bring it back.
It came up in my head.
Yeah, go.
No, I've been writing like if we were going like super serious, I would say that one of the lies I had to overcome in my adult life was this idea that I was dumb.
Yeah.
Like that was one I had to overcome. I had been so apathetic. I quit trying a long time ago. Like, again, I had the 2 4.0s and got to a 2.6. And I had beliefs. I internalized some of that stuff. But like the thing I could do was I could rhyme.
Yeah.
That was something I could do. So like in middle school, I'm writing poems to my then middle school girlfriends, some of which have liked y'all's post. Not to be named.
Can I do the initial? Because in your song, bro.
No.
It's in the song.
I don't know if they know their initials were in the song.
Well, I know the initial. Okay, I got you.
I don't know if they know, but listen, congratulations to all you're doing. Okay. So, but that's what I was doing. I was writing poems, and then like when I got to Calvary, we did a literary magazine, and every year I got put in that magazine for poems.
Yeah.
That like the creative writing was what I could do. And I'd write Casey poems all the time. I'd be sitting in the bathroom just poem writing and then sending it to Casey in class. Well, I should have been in class. And like that was the thing. And then when I got to college, I got into like the big thing in that moment was like the Christian spoken word stuff.
Yeah.
But I got really into like the slam poetry side that was like poetry contest in bars.
Yeah.
Like that's where I was doing it. So I was doing these Christian poems in like these downtown Chattanooga bars where you had to pay to get into the contest. And then if you won the contest, you took the pot.
Yeah.
So if 20 people were in, $20, that's like tons of money for a college kid. But you're literally in these poetry competitions. But I'm in there like doing these Christian poems and like this very like nobody else was doing Christian poems in this space. So I get out to California. And a guy on my staff that I oversaw literally looks at me and goes, "You need to put this on beats." And I said, "Do you hear the way I talk? I can't rap. I can only do spoken word." We get into the studio that night, and we put this
for the first time.
First time
And
ever.
And I want to say this before you go on. When I said that earlier about it's better than what I thought it would be, because it's like it's legit,
Professional.
Totally.
I want to say that because I feel like you can half butt something and it's just dude,
it's not like he just grabbed a microphone, recorded it one time. Like there is
exactly. There's
effort.
a lot. There's a lot of effort and preparation
Time.
that he put in, and time that he put in. So I want to make sure
And
that
you
people
listen
know
to
that,
it,
bro.
it's
It
obvious.
sounds
Yeah.
extremely good.
So
that's testament to you.
I appreciate you saying that. So like we're in the booth, we make a song that night, and I'm like, wait, I could get addicted to this. So like there is no feeling. It's like it's a high you can't forget. Like there's this very natural. You've got lyrics. The studio is bumping. Everybody's in there. Sound engineer. There's a soundboard the size of this room in this booth, and I'm like, dude, I'm Lil Wayne. I am the Carter right now. And it probably sucked. Like, it was probably trash. But by the time I got to L.A., I was like, I want to do some of this.
Yeah.
So I'm out one night with a member of our church and her husband. And he is a big-time music producer. And when I mean big, I mean multi-platinum.
I remember this. You need to tell this story, bro.
Yeah, like Young Gravy, Kevin Gates, Cardi B. He's produced, like, the artist in the game. But I don't know that at the time. I'm there to talk about the Syrian refugee crisis. So I'm about to go into Lebanon and Iraq, internally displaced people in Iraq, and the Syrian refugee crisis after an internal attack in Syria. We're going into Lebanon to the Valley of the Bekaa, which David mentions in the Psalms. So, like, that's why I'm there. Yeah. He's not a believer at the time, but wants to, like, financially help on the humanitarian aid side of things. Mm-hmm. So we sit for, like, 4 hours talking about a refugee crisis going on overseas. And then he says, let's make a song tonight. Or I think he said, we're going to make a song tonight. He knew I did some of the spoken word stuff, but I thought he meant him and the other guy. Because the other guy there had been a writer for the Lumineers. Yep. The Hey Ho, big radio hit. So these two guys are there. And I'm like, oh, dude, I would love to see y'all do this.
Be a part of watch you guys do it.
Yeah, Casey's there. His wife's there, Holly. And we walk into the back house at this house in L.A. And the entire house is a studio. Jeez. It is unreal. And you're walking down the hallway. Platinum plaques.
Oh my
platinum
gosh.
platinum plaques. Like Kesha.
Did your heart drop?
Oh, dude, no, it was rising.
But I'm saying, like,
until
when you
crashed,
mouth dropped
and caught on fire.
Yeah, tell them how they were like, yeah.
So we're in there, and I'm seeing like. Do you remember that Timber song that like Pitbull?
It's
and
going
Kesha
down.
did? Yes. Yeah. Like so, there's all these very like acclaimed
Notable.
radio hits
Yeah.
on the wall, and I'm like, this dude produced all this music. This is nuts. So he gets on the keys and he just starts playing, and then the other guy gets on the bass and he just goes.
So they're just creating beats for you,
freestyling beats off of each other.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Brannon, the mic in the corner is live.
dude.
I said, for what? And he said,
And that's when it dropped.
and he looks at me and goes, go freestyle on it.
Oh my gosh.
So I do. And there's times like you're around crazy talent and you just sink.
Yeah.
And then there's times I have some like adrenaline, God mix of the human experience where you just rise up.
Yeah.
I went for about 4 minutes straight. By the end of the night, we have a song done, and I hear the words before I leave, we need to pitch this to Derulo by the end of the week. So I'm like, whoa, we're writing songs for Jason Derulo now. I end up writing for a couple other producers for the next 4 years in LA because of that one experience.
Yeah.
So I'm a pastor in the city writing in secular hip hop and saying, what does it look like to be a kingdom ambassador embodying these spaces? Mm-hmm. And that was some of the most fun and fruitful, like writing a couple different times for really big name signed Atlantic record artists.
What's that look like? Like you just write lyrics for them and
That's
they incorporate
all
that
I'm
into
there
their
to do.
music, or
And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm there to do. I'm there for trash rappers who can't rap.
Some of
to
those out
be-
there.
Yeah. Hey, the shot fired. I'm there for them. So there's times I will be sent a beat and been told, write 4 songs to this beat.
Yeah.
And then we'll pitch lyrics to them and they can take them or leave them. So I'm in this space thinking, oh, I'm in here with a dude whose mom is a voodoo priest. And then this other artist who is professing these different things. And I'm a pastor in the city and writing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what's it look like to be a kingdom ambassador in this space? 2020 hits. We've already moved to Sacramento. I'm still writing a little bit. But that's when I wrote Top Down.
Yep. I like that one.
And Top Down comes.
Play it a little bit.
So I write Top Down, and the producer says, I want this song. And he literally says, I want the song for, let me get to his song.
Music video.
Was this your first one? Was this the
yeah,
first
this
one?
music video is cool.
Gizmo, my dog.
I want to talk about the
is
music
in
video
that.
too.
This wasn't your first song though, right?
No, Invisible was the first
That's
song.
right. That's right.
But when
All
I
right,
wrote
that's
this
it.
song, the producer literally hits me and goes, "Will you sell the song outright to me for this much money?"
Yeah.
And I said, "You think it's worth that?" It was a sum.
Yeah,
it was
don't-
a very nice vacation.
Yeah, right.
And he said, "Would you sell it for this?" And I said, "If you think it's that good, I want to put it out myself." And he goes, "Well, you'll never make that much money on it if you do it."
Yeah.
And I said, "You're right. But if you think it's that good, why don't it's
Yeah.
2020,
I want
I'm living
it.
at home, let's do it."
Yeah.
Let's literally do it. And he said, "Hey, you've done this for me." A couple other people pitched in. He ends up producing the entire album for free.
Wow.
To put that in context, this dude is R12 Nation, $35,000 a song.
Wow.
And he does 6 for me for free.
So it would have cost.
Sheesh.
So yeah,
It's like he
it
gave
would
me
have costed you
150
each
grand.
song you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
each song you
Yes.
did, it cost you $35,000.
Yeah, so he gave me $150,000. I would have never passed or I'd have never been able to
Yeah.
finance
Yeah,
one song.
right.
So it was crazy, but then we put it out, and then we started getting some live gigs, and there was 2 different moments where we were having record label conversations, like
Wow.
with Sony,
Yeah.
and didn't go that direction because of some of the terms. But yeah, so then there's been live stuff. There's more live stuff coming up, and
I want to ask you.
Sorry.
So would you say that the time you went and ate with, was it a pastor's friends, the dude that had multiple
Mhm.
platinums? Would
Yeah.
you say that's one of like the biggest breaks in your music career so far?
that was
Yeah.
the moment.
That-
you know what's so
what
you know what's so
kickstarted it.
cool about that I just rang in my head was you were there about
Ministry.
ministry.
Yeah.
100%.
You were there
Yeah.
about this trip you're about to take to
Iraq and Lebanon.
Iraq and Lebanon, and
Yeah.
you were there to learn about how you can help people out with Jesus there.
Right.
And then through that, this dude just
Opportunity.
the opportunity
That
just
became the-
opened.
that
But if
became
you
the
would have
thing.
never been willing to go to Iraq and Lebanon, that would have never happened.
No,
Yeah.
it would have
Well,
never
it might
happened.
have happened later, but like it wouldn't have happened the way it did.
And then, like,
Um,
one of the big moments on the record label stuff was I was doing another podcast like this I was consulting on a podcast like this with a member of the Pentatonics.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, let me hear this song." I send him the song. He's like, "This is a hit, bro. This is a hit. Why are you working at a church?" And I get to then say why I'm working at a church.
Yeah.
But he's a faith guy too, loves Jesus. Like, and we just have this conversation. He's actually the one who makes, through him, we make the connection with Sony. So it was wild that, like, going on this mission trip, also like consulting on this podcast that's
Yeah.
about faith and creatives.
Yeah.
Both of those were the things that blew the music up.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So it's just been another place, like, people mad, like, well, I don't want to jump to that.
Yeah, don't
story
jump
if we
to it.
have
Yeah, don't jump to it.
Was
yet.
there a specific point when you obviously
I was about to
initially
ask
it's
you.
like I'm just writing rhymes, like, and then now I'm writing for different rappers. Like, at what point was it like clicked
This
in
is
your
legit,
mind,
bro.
Like, yo, I'm doing something here. Like,
Yeah.
I can do this. Like, was there a
And
point
don't be
or
you ain't gotta be humble with
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
bro. Like just be real.
like when did you realize, like, man, there's something here. Like,
I-
I can do this.
Well, I think I knew the rhymes were good.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the way that they used to say it back then was like, there's better rappers. I'm actually not Lil Wayne. I'm not these guys. Like, there are better sonically sounding, technical cadence rappers.
Right.
But the phrase that kind of stuck with me as we've been going is, but Brannon's pen competes with anybody.
Uh-huh.
So I actually think it was the years in the bathroom in 7th grade that, like, I knew if I was tying in, like, a lyric we just heard, if I was saying, I got to get this up off of me, ancient text full of theophany, sound in my head like cacophonies, I knew that was better than the trash rap that had been coming out the
Yeah.
last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I knew the pen was there. I just didn't know if we could actually make it sound good on record.
The technical
Production.
skill
Yeah,
of
yeah, the
rapping.
production of it
Yeah.
all. Like, that's where
And
you made
how-
the connection.
how much-
Well, that's why you had 4 years as a creative person
much
for
does
other
that-
rappers.
How much does that play into, like, you hear Drake
Yep.
and you hear how, I mean, it sounds extremely good,
Oh, yeah.
but what does he have access to that, like,
How much of that is
That-
raw talent versus how much
I mean,
is
I'm
like?
not gonna ask.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for,
that's
for
what
Drake,
I'm pretty much getting
Drake's
to.
hard
It's
too,
like
though.
he has all this money that he can pay for production, pay
towards
for
that, yeah.
whatever else he's paying for. Like, what does he get that, like, is hard to come by as
His
a
name.
All dreams have to be financed. In
Yeah.
anything, in any field.
Yeah.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, it's got to be financed.
True.
If you
Yeah.
want to start a new thing, it's got to be financed. If you want to do this, it's got to be financed. So the biggest the biggest discrepancy in the game when it comes to music is what money we're working with.
Yeah.
So like if I put $250 marketing a music video and we're doing keyword ads and we're trying to get these in strategic places, I'll put in $250 over a month and a half, and then I might go up and re-up my $250. Drake's budget on the God's Plan music video was $1 million.
Yeah.
So like you're working with astronomical funding. Yeah. So his streams, his views, his concert, he's insanely talented.
Right.
But the biggest discrepancy in the game is not, in my opinion, actually talent. Like there was a girl in our small group was the runner-up on American Idol in season 13.
Wow.
She's the best live vocalist I've ever heard in my life. She sings Beyonce's Halo on there. Nicki Minaj is like literally hosting it, and she's a judge and says, Beyonce's got to listen to this. This is that good. Yeah. And she's done some really cool stuff in her lane, but has never blown up to be a radio artist.
Right.
So talent's usually not what the discrepancy is. The discrepancy is normally funding.
It's the name that they've built. Like, even if Drake were to put something out crappy, like, he's still going to get.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, you're right.
21, can you do something for me?
So I want to ask you, like, is it hard combining rap? I don't think combining is the right word.
I know where you're
incorporating.
You're first a child of God, like we were talking about. Is it hard to be a rapper under that? Or do you understand what I'm trying to say?
100%.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it all comes down to mission. Like, when I read Paul's letters in the New Testament, and I'm only saying that because they so vary in place. Where you look at the book of Acts, and if you're, like, being historically honest, most of these places are urban churches. Right. They're port cities. They're these places of international trade and centers of culture. You've got Corinth, and you've got a temple of Aphrodite and Poseidon and the imperial cult and the church. You've got temple prostitutes running throughout the city, 10,000 maybe at a time. And Paul doesn't go, this is what we ignore. Paul goes, this is where we go.
Yeah.
Like, Paul does not do what we saw some of, like, 1970s evangelicalism, where it was like, well, then let's withdraw from culture as a whole.
Right.
Throw rocks at it from a distance and talk about how it's going to hell in a handbasket. Paul's like, oh my gosh, there is all this going on in the city.
Right.
All of this is not the gospel, and we should go. Yeah. So for me, that's actually always been the thing. It doesn't feel, the thing that's difficult is like prayerfully considering what's the most effective way to embody that space.
Right.
But I feel so honored that I've got to.
Yeah. That
to me doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel like compromise. Now I've had people mad say that, no, you can't be in both those spaces.
Right.
Pick one.
Yeah. And that was kind of my question because, man, I grew up listening. I love rap music. Like, I always have, man. I like driving down the road and, like, feeling like your car bumping. I've always have. But at the same time, it got to a point where every rap song that was on the radio or every rap song on my phone was just screaming out
anything.
Obscenities that I knew I shouldn't be coming to my, like, I shouldn't be listening to.
Right.
And so for me, that's why I kind of like, I love rap, but I don't want to put bad stuff in my brain.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's awesome. Like we mentioned Holvey earlier.
Yes.
We mentioned KB, and you can say what, are you allowed to?
Yeah, I think I'm allowed to say this. KB is a really awesome Christian rapper.
Yeah.
Like, that's his lane. He's super good theologically. He's a good preacher. Like, he's got all that stuff. And I've got the opening spot for his show in Sacramento in February, which is awesome.
He's
so
pretty.
I
mean, that's like
KB for that show.
That's coming up, man.
Yeah,
there's
first weekend of February.
And that's what I'm trying to say, bro. This man is
how
legit,
how much time are you having up there? Like 1 song, 2 songs? Handful?
I think right now it's 20 minutes. So I think
20 minutes. Okay.
4 or 5 songs, right?
I think we're going to do a couple half songs. I think we're going to go for like 6 or 7.
Bro, do you just get like
all out there?
There is no feeling like
I know that I it's not that feeling, but I know what you're talking about.
You can't get it more than me.
You can't. No. I'm not saying that, but you can't explain the feeling you get, and there's no way to replicate it unless you're there.
I headlined my first show in Minneapolis, Minnesota this summer, and that was, I was the final spot.
Yeah,
and I'll never forget Top of the Clouds coming in. That's a song of mine. And then the subs raising, like literally your feet were vibrating.
Play it.
And you're like hovering on the ground.
Too.
And there's a bunch of younger people in that room, right? And then they start jumping.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you showed me. Hey, man, y'all need to go check. You're on YouTube too, right?
Oh, it's literally
YouTube,
anywhere.
Spotify, Bshortt with 2 T's. Go check them out.
But when that moment hit, it has to be like pitching in front of 60,000 people. Like,
Yeah.
There's an
no way.
ecstasy in that. It's like, because we got the lights like
And
right
it's just
here,
building. It's just building.
and the lights are spinning, and then they go up.
About to blow to the top of the clouds.
And then they start jumping.
Yeah.
That's Bshortt.
Yeah, it's sick.
But yeah, dude,
It's sick. It's sick.
But it's been so fun to see, and I've been blown away by the support of our church.
Uh-huh.
So like our founding pastor is a 72-year-old man.
Wow.
And he'll post about my music and go, now listen, I don't listen to this type of music, but Brannon's music is good and it's different, and your grandkids will probably love it. So like that's how he talks. That's how he talks to his audience about it. But like when I've needed a weekend off because I was doing a show, he's like, done. It's greater value to the kingdom.
Right.
Let's do both.
Right.
That's my question. How do you balance out like your time and your effort and like your mental focus between obviously being a pastor, like ministering to like people in the church and the community, families, like pursuing your career, because like this is your music career is a legit thing, right? And then also family too, because like those are 3 things that have to balance together. Like that's got to be tough.
Yeah, we were talking about this a minute ago. So like the 2 things I'd say on that is like compartmentalization and balance are these 2 things that, all right, here we go, that I both think are basically myths. So when I say compartmentalization, I bring all of me in every room I sit in, regardless of whether or not I want to.
Yeah.
Like I am only me.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to flip the switch for like a mental health thing and had to say, no, wait, I got to leave that at the office, that's got to stay there, that's fine. But there's not like Brannon the pastor, Brannon the rapper, Brannon the nonprofit, Brannon the entrepreneur on the candle. Like, there's not Brannon that is those. There's only Brannon.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's not different Brannons that exist in that space.
Yeah, which is
but there can't be.
it's a good. Yeah, it's
Shouldn't
impossible.
be.
But like
it's a myth, or there's a caricature.
And when
being
you
made.
try and be like that, people see.
You can
It's
smell
just
fake like
You
a
can
fish
just,
market.
it's just fake. Yeah.
So then you've got that, and then the balance piece. I think I love that image because what pops in my head on balance is like there's this scale. And if I've got all these different rocks, if you will, of life, if I put 3 in this one, 3 in this one, this is somehow going to level out. And enough, we've all lived this, but like enough life lived for all of us, I think the scale never looks balanced, no matter how hard I try. So what I have to make sure is that the priority of time is as good as it can be, and that the rhythms are intentional.
Yeah.
So like some of that is Casey and I won't miss date night. We're not perfect, but like that's a not miss. I'm not going to miss a team staff meeting. I'm not going to miss sermon prep. I'm not going to miss this amount of time for this thing. What I tell people is I've got a bunch of things, but I have a first thing.
Right. Right.
I'm first pastor. Like when it comes to vocation, I'm first child.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying vocationally, I'm first pastor. But I think I said this last summer in an interview where somebody was like, but how do you do this? I said, I will not choose one. I won't do it. I feel like I'm dying if I do.
Yeah.
I have to do that.
make it work. Yeah.
I was built creatively. Like I have to scratch that. Sitting on the board of a couple nonprofits is like one of my roles there is strategic catalyst. So I get to sit there and really think through, are we best if we're like risk over reward, future state, current, SWOT analysis, like if we're doing all of that stuff, that scratches a piece of me that nothing else does.
Yeah.
The music scratches a piece of me that nothing else does. The candles maybe have saved my soul. And what I mean by that, honestly, is my buddy's writing a book called Working with Your Hands as a Means to Protect Your Soul that Paul Tent makes. Jesus is carpenter, stonemason, whatever it ends up being, depending on what it is when we find out one day what exactly that hand worker was. But being able to sit there, the science part of my brain that candle making scratches, along with the scents, and then being able to light them, and it being able to me to look at it and say, oh, it's good and it's done, like Genesis-y.
Yeah.
And then to be able to serve vocationally in our church, I could not live a life right now in this season that was one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome.
But I have to be very intentional with time. And this year I wasn't great. Like I flew 55 times this year.
Yeah.
Too much. too much. And me and Casey have had to sit down instead of like lambashing me or me.
Right.
Like
right.
we've sat down and said, all right, so next year, what's the number?
Yeah.
What's the max? Doesn't matter what events offered, doesn't matter what concerts offered, what is the line in the sand?
Yeah.
And we came up with it together and we're going to stick to it.
What's the thing? Like talking about it, like being
100%.
upfront, transparent with one another, you know?
Yes.
Bro, you know what I knew? All right, so the first song I listened to of yours was Invisible.
Yeah.
Because it came out around
Halloween.
It came out around Halloween.
Yep.
I think it was either Top Down or maybe another one. But I told you this. I knew it was good, but you know it's good. When I was in Scottsdale doing my rehab stuff, I would get on the aux in the weight room.
Right.
And there'd be 14, 15 other dudes there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would play your music, not every day, but I'd play, and you know it's
But
good.
every day.
You know it's good when somebody that has never heard it and doesn't know you is like getting down to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, dude, this is
Enjoying
sick,
it.
Yeah.
bro.
They're like, yo,
Yeah.
who
Like,
is that?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this is sweet.
Yeah, dude, it's been crazy fun. It's one of those things you never saw coming. And then, the plan for the new year is a bunch of live shows and a full-length 13-track album, probably April or May.
That's what I was going to ask you about the Daydreaming. Did you say, like, I'm going to come out with this many songs? Or did it just kind of happen?
No, that just kind of happened. And
Yeah.
Daydreaming the album didn't have a title.
That's a banger.
Yeah,
too.
I remember that's the
Daydreaming.
video. That's the
Play
video that you
Daydreaming.
played.
So when we went into the booth that day,
Yeah, give us a backstory to it.
I had the other 5 songs done. And then actually the first lyric is really going to explain it. So I said, just play a beat. I don't even have the beat. And then I literally go,
I've been daydreaming a lot lately. I've been listening to Big Pac and Nas lately. I've been taking the time
That's
to
the
press
picture.
pause lately.
That's my
Disenchanted,
kindergarten
searching
picture
for
from
that
Mossville
living into
Elementary.
a fictitious mirage lately. I make black letters on white pages come to life.
was one of those moments, music's magical. I walk in, they play the beat. I don't have an album title. We want to release it at certain times. There's a couple live shows that depend if it's out. Sony wants to have the deal meeting if the project's done.
Right.
So all this is crunching. I'm coming out of a terrible church meeting, which exists. And I'm like, oh, man, that's it. I quit. And I was having one of those meetings. And I said, play that beat. And I'm in this dude's closet. And I'm, like, ready to rip. And I said, those lyrics, I said, I've been daydreaming a lot lately. I've been listening to Big Pac and Nas lately. I've been taking the time to press pause lately. I'm disenchanted. I'm searching for that real. I'm not living in no fictitious mirage lately. I make black letters on white pages come to life, make them swing dance with each other through the night. And I did that off the top.
Yeah.
And I was like, the producer goes, what just happened? What just happened? I said, I don't know. Push play. Push play. And by the time we left, the song was done, and we had the title.
That's crazy.
We're like, no, Daydreaming. That's the album.
Yeah.
And it all came off a day that also wasn't planned.
Wait, I think it's so cool because we knew you growing up, and like, it was just. I was gonna say this before, and you said save it, but it was weird. It was weird.
Oh, the intermission. Yeah,
It was almost weird
Oh,
for me
yeah,
to
yeah.
listen to it at first because I know you,
Right.
and like I didn't start really listening to it a lot until I was in Sacramento this year, and we were talking a lot, and
Right.
like I was learning more about you, about Casey, like what you guys were doing, like. That's when I started listening. I was like, dude, this is some good stuff.
Kirkland's comment was one of my favorites of the whole year. He said, I just heard you reference the complex, playing baseball at the Davie County Little League complex
what?
in
You
a
need to
rap
go back
song.
there,
How about
You
Cherry
do.
Berry?
That place is different. Yeah, the Cherry Berry line. I love that
Oh,
one too.
yes.
Yeah.
Kids in the 3-6
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
Three
like
seats,
MC
yellow
Chilling
Elevator.
out Cherry Berry.
going up the elevator.
Dude, I sent her the song. I found an email online to, I think her name's actually Cherie.
She's
Berry,
retired.
It is Cherie.
Tired.
But
Yeah,
that's
she's got one of the most popular people.
I
in
want
North
to
Carolina.
ask
Dude.
you, like, okay, you said first child of God, second pastor, rapper.
Yeah.
What? 15 years from now,
yeah.
your career as a rapper, what would be like, what do you hope to accomplish? Like, what do you like? If you'd have looked to where you are now,
Yeah.
2 years ago, we
Yeah.
even had this conversation, you wouldn't be where you are now.
No, I wouldn't even thought we'd be here.
So 10 years, like, what are you striving for? Like, what's your like goal? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I love that question too. But this is like my honest,
Yeah, no,
unfiltered answer.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rapping in 15 years.
Right.
I don't want to be. Listen, call it whatever you want to call it. I do not want to be a 40-something-year-old white rapper.
Okay, what about like, so like
I'm
5 years from 5 years?
I want to be able to do a tour every year, every other year. There is nothing like that. I really love the events that allow me to preach and rap. Those are really fun for me.
Cool. Yeah.
You usually preach first, rap second, or kind of a mix?
Well, sometimes I'll book an event that's just rapping, some's just preaching. I mean, obviously more preaching, but then I would always prefer to preach first.
Okay.
Because I would love to have the rapport. Like I did a concert this year where the sermon was on what does it look like to follow Jesus amidst actual suffering.
Yeah.
True, genuine, not like, oh, your perspective's all. No, like life's hell-like suffering.
Yeah.
And then I did a concert the next night. But there was something to that. A little girl runs up to me and goes, what you don't know is my mom OD'd 6 months ago and died.
Wow, yeah.
My life, I have been suffering.
Yeah.
And what you said last night, teaching from this Old Testament story, meant a lot. But then I felt like when you're doing It's Been a Minute, which is like a deep introspective song I wrote about like some regrets and some or product of grace and places I've been and whatever. She goes, I also felt like you gave me a soundtrack for the pain. And it's cool to watch them work together. So if I get to preach first, that's the best. But I don't know. I would like to be doing some of that. It's cool. I fly my little brother out most of the time to drum those shows.
Which is sick.
So we get to do those together.
That's
so
really cool y'all get to do that
he's
together.
Extremely good.
He's very good.
Yeah.
And Logan will get to do the KB show, which is like super full circle. Like we listened to KB growing up, and now we're going to do his show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He and me. So that's super fun. But I'll switch again. I just took my first painting class. So I might like.
You're just creative.
I might quit candle making this year, and I might paint landscapes.
I got one more question. You can ask.
Well, what's your favorite part in the process, right? Is it like the creative piece, writing lines? Is it being in the studio? Is it actually being live? Like, what is the best part of it?
I love that you asked that, Jacob Walker. I kiss you on the mouth. I won't.
All right. Nah.
I said I won't. I said I won't. But here we go. It's the blank page.
Yeah.
Like for me, it all feels. That's the closest thing. Sorry, the literal tornado warning just went off in the city. No, it's the closest thing. Music's the closest thing to Genesis I think you get to experience, because Genesis talks about God creating from ex nihilo. He's creating out of nothing. And while I am using paper and pad that I didn't make and brain cells that I didn't design.
Wow, that's cool.
It's as close to nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost nothing with faithfulness to the gifts. And I think that's what's cool. You get to see a blank page become people mad.
Yeah.
To become live concerts, for the girl to come up and say, that's a soundtrack of the pain.
Yeah. Right.
Like, but it was a blank page.
And that's the process, right? Like when obviously the part where you're actually spitting is like, that's the part where you're just balling.
That's just the fruit of the labor.
But you got to fall in love with it. We had a conversation about that earlier, that like falling in love with the process.
Henry Nouwen had this.
Doing it.
Henry Nouwen had, sorry to cut you off. Like Henry had this beautiful line where he said, often most people, we get the privilege of living in a place where we get to have these like conversations. But most people in the world live a life where there's something they are paid to do, and that is the thing that allows them to like dive into the things they feel like they were made to do. Yeah. There's this paid to do, made to do reality thing going on. And I think it's all sacred. Like, I think if we can bust the sacred secular thing, that helps. Like, I think if you're able to say, no, anything done with the gifts God's given for the glory of God and the enjoyment or the betterment of other people is sacred. Yeah. Like, I had a plumber come up to me at church a couple weeks ago, and he said these words. He's like, I love being called by God to plumb. Yeah. And I said, dog, what are you talking about? And he said, nothing breaks peace of mind more than when your toilet doesn't work. That's true. And I said, gosh, that'll preach. And he looks at me. He does. He literally says to me, he's like, so if your pipes don't work, if your sink doesn't work, if your toilet doesn't work, nothing breaks peace of mind. And I get to serve people made in God's image every day by bringing them peace of mind. Yeah. Wow. I'm like, nah, that cat actually gets like what is sacred better than me.
That's what like resonates so well with the living sacrifice thing in Romans 12, right? Like living sacrifice for a certain person might not be the same as for me. No. Like for me, I'm gonna be a youth pastor
for everybody.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, we're all called to be a living sacrifice.
Yeah, and you're in the way that He's blessed you.
Yeah, it's gonna come to life different for everybody's life differently, right? Like the plumber, perfect example, right?
Yeah. Oh, he gets it. And like on the hip hop thing, I will have some people hit me about it often or every so often.
Yeah.
So many more. I think it's often worth remembering no matter what field you're in, there are more people with you than are against you, and it can feel the opposite at times. But I'll have a few people hit me. I'm saying, you do not have to agree with every message in rap to know that the synapsual firing in someone's brain put the synthetically created beats that have been patternly made by things that are happening inside of them is only possible because they're made in the image of God.
Yeah.
You can recognize the good while like seeking to reform the subtle nuances of the game.
Right.
I'm sitting with a very secular artist, and I do I literally say, if you ever want to talk about a hope that anchors, talk to me. So I throw a Hebrews 6 lyric in his song. He has no clue that that's there. But
you were writing for him?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm throwing these little Christian innuendos where I talk about the cannon or a hammer, and I'm talking about these images or doves that like have been used explicitly throughout all of time. And I'm like, how is there any small way we can be a part of the restoration of all things? That Jesus' claim is He's making things new. What can we do to make this little moment new, something different, something restorative, even if it's something small like that?
Right.
So I never see the divide of that being sacred or secular. I see all of those things as sacred and important.
Yeah.
And you said it very confusing in my brain about the synthetic stuff.
Confusing in my brain.
But you know what that does?
What does it do?
Dude, it shows that everything you're doing is pointing to Christ.
Yes.
Like, it just shows that, like, you know that you have a talent, but you also know that you don't have a talent without Jesus.
No.
Without God creating you. And that's the most, like, that's what I love about you is that every time we talk, you're telling me stories about how you're getting opportunities in the rap game.
Yeah.
And in the middle of every conversation and at the end of every conversation, you're just like, man, it's God giving me opportunity.
Totally.
It's Jesus blessing me. And I think that's what I love so much about this conversation.
Yeah.
And for everybody watching, I want you guys to know that, like, man, you're seeing the fruits of like your obedience, but you're also seeing how God has just blessed you and how you're putting Him first in your life. And that's just awesome to me, man.
Well, I just think it's cool to what Kirkland said. I also would have never thought.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not, I'm not thinking 8th grade Brannon's getting to do any of this stuff.
Right.
But I also like have this really real moment outside that house party with Jesus. And then had other people step alongside me, and I get to step along. I hope that, like, I heard this story about the guy that leads Billy Graham to Jesus. And I'm like, I would rather that be the legacy, that we equipped all of these people that went out and lived faithfully in these ways. That's why we've created our modeled our church the way we have. We're pretty anti-superstardom when it comes to, like, the pastor piece.
Good.
Like, I'd rather be breaking that up as much as I can. I'm not hating on people. I'm just saying, how many voices can we bring into the room, and how many can we change to the stage? What can we embody in this way? So yeah, I just think, yeah, God can do anything. Kurt nailed it, right? Like, it's anybody willing.
Yeah, right.
I don't think it takes like special things, and then right place, right time moments happen. And one of the songs I wrote, like, have you ever thought about those moments that if anything would have went different in that moment, everything in your life would have been different?
Yeah. Those pivotal moments.
But you can only see them looking back.
Yeah.
That's product of grace, isn't it?
It's product of grace. You
Play
cannot
it.
be sitting in that moment and know
So I
this is the change of my whole life.
Yeah, I had a question about that song. So the beginning of that part, like the story that you tell, like,
can you play it real fast?
Yeah. What was that situation? Did that really happen?
When I was talking to the guy?
Yeah.
The day I was talking to a guy and I asked him how he was doing. He looked at me and said, "Brannon, I'm doing better than I deserve." Which really got me thinking about those moments in my life that if anything would have went different, then everything would have been. Yeah, man, just a product of grace, homeboy. I'm just a product of grace.
He walked in, ready to go.
This part right here.
Oh, gosh. You're bringing that one in. It's real.
Yeah.
My heart started racing. I'll never forget the feeling. Yeah, and I thought he was a villain.
Yeah.
I thought that he wasn't chilling,
So where are you at when this happened?
This is I'm at a business, and I know who's working there. I know what's there. there's an argument that breaks out at the business. I'm saying this because there was people clearly involved. And an argument breaks out. I think it's going sideways real quick.
Right. So
I do run to the back. I know there's a hidden gun. I grab the gun. I put the gun in my pocket, walk back up to the front, thinking if this goes off, like maybe I'm willing to jump in if I need to, which was horrifying. And looking back on it, it's just some of it's like just being a teenager and being dumb.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
like.
how old were you at the time?
14.
Yeah, so you're young. Yeah.
No, 12. 12.
Yeah.
Not a teenager. But that's why I said a slip of my finger would have been the final frontier, and I'd have never, ever, ever been here.
Yeah.
Like that's one slip, and it's over for me.
Right.
And it was so dumb. It didn't break out to be something huge.
Right.
There was an argument that did turn into a fight. The lady did call 911. It did, but nobody got hurt.
Right.
Nobody swung, and I'm literally running, grabbing a gun, and toting and running back.
Yeah.
And whew, like that moment chill bumps me.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's everything shifts right there.
That's your life, man.
Thinking back on that
That's
now.
your testimony. Yeah.
So there's moments like that. But then the guy in that one, I asked the guy the other day, there was a 75-year-old man in Hollywood, like in the city of Hollywood. And I asked him one day, I really did. I said, how are you doing? And he looked at me and said, I'm just doing better than I deserve to be doing. And that just froze me. I was like, same.
Yeah.
Freaking same.
It's so not deep, but
So
it's so
true.
deep, man.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
that slayed me. I was like, I am also doing much better than I deserve to be doing.
Yeah.
I do not deserve any of this.
Product of grace.
I think like that's the cool part. Like one of my pastor's friends says this a lot. He's like, the beautiful freedom in following Christ is getting to follow Christ knowing he doesn't need you. He only wants.
Yeah.
And like that's the beauty. God does not need you to accomplish his ultimate will. God will, the end of the book is already written.
Right. Yeah.
That's
so good.
God wants to use you.
Uh-huh.
God wants you to seek him. God wants you to lean in for intimacy. This is all a desire of want,
Right.
not God's need.
Wow, that's good.
It's all it's just a totally flip perspective on what we have for everything in life. Like we talk about, I should only pursue what I need, right? And like God's mindset is completely flipped. Like Jesus wants you.
Yeah, God's desire is you.
Yeah.
And this is the beautiful thing. Like that's the only way to follow Christ in freedom.
Yeah.
Is
That's
to know
awesome,
that
bro.
you don't let God down because you didn't hold God up.
Right.
And like I think we tend to see our sin in this linear way that God doesn't. Like, oh man, I know what I used to be, and God saved me even when I was still a sinner.
Right.
God knew every way you would sin the rest of your life.
Yeah.
God, your failures, my failures will be surprises to us.
Yeah.
They won't be to God.
Right.
God's love is not dependent on whether or not you and I somehow have enough willpower to beat our sin.
It's those low moments when he wants you to come to him.
Oh, yes.
Gentle and lowly, man.
The only
That's what I'm
descriptor of his
learning.
heart.
Yeah.
I'm
Gentle
learning
and
that
lowly.
like so much right now. It's so true. So true.
100%, yo.
Man, we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
The first guest, bro.
Dude, I'm so glad I got to
I
be
mean,
on.
like, could you get a better first guest? I don't think. He uses the word dank. Are you kidding?
He used dank, and we did Flux footwear
Is there anything else that you guys want to ask him? I know you're flying out back to Sacramento on
in a day and a half.
day and a half.
But I will. Anything, if you want to ask
Yeah, if you guys want to
in.
ask, and if not, man, dude,
And you can use all of it. You don't have to use all of it, whatever.
we're using all of it, dude. I've learned so much
100%
about you
all
over
of
the
it.
past. I've
Yeah.
learned so much about you over the past like this couple of hours, but like over the 6 months, dude.
Yeah,
we've-
dude.
I feel like we've grown, and I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. I
Um,
think it was very tender for Casey and I. I'll tell you two this. I've already told Jeremy and Caroline this. It was very tender for us to be able, in their first married year, to be in the same city.
Yeah.
Because it was somebody you had.
Well, and I think for me,
Me too.
The thing that hit me so hard was when we got out here. Sacramento is not like. There's some parts of Sacramento that's not like Davie County.
There is no part of Sacramento that is even remotely like
I felt
Davie
like
County.
we were on a different planet.
We
bro.
were on a different planet.
And you guys not only invited us into your house,
dude.
bought us dinner, bought us coffee, like, and more so than that, dude, you were just pouring into me.
Yeah.
Just through like text, call, whatever it was. And I can't say how much that helped me and Caroline both, because when I was on the road, there was multiple times when I was on the road, Caroline's still in Sacramento, Brandon call her up, Brandon and Casey call up, hey, let's go here, let's go here.
Yeah.
And for her, man, that was a very big thing too. So I can't say that enough, dude. And
I love you guys, man.
and
I'm
again,
proud of
bro,
you.
I want to see you freaking thrive, dude. I want to see.
doing it.
I mean, I know you are right now, but Man, I just want to see you grow.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Any last question?
Nah. Last thing you got. Last thing you got. Like last phrase, last whatever you want to say to the camera.
Final remarks.
To R12 Nation.
Oh boy.
Wait, play music for it.
Oh boy.
Play. What's your? I want to.
There is no telling what he is about to say.
I want to play your favorite song, dude.
We've already done it.
Well, then play a different
Actually,
one.
we haven't played Coin Laundry. Let's
play that one. Play that one.
Put that in the background as I ask R12 Nation a question. R12 Nation, Brannon Shortt here. You may be wondering, what am I doing here? Well, then watch the rest of the interview. Or jump on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you find playlists. Podcasts. But let me ask you this question. People have been questioning this since the beginning of time.
Oh, boy.
Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, you name it. But here it is. Say you're walking through a pumpkin patch one day, a random pumpkin patch, and you find a carrot. Do you conceive that as a coincidence or not? Could it have been planned? Could it be on purpose? How could that actually affect the way that you are becoming in the world? Could it be transformative if you're in a pumpkin patch and find a carrot? Coincidence or not?
R12 Nation, we love you guys.
R12 Nation!